I think coaches that use the S word, slump, you're cementing an idea in their head that's destroying their confidence, because maybe they're under the mindset of, I'm never admit I'm in a slump. But then your coach says, hey, you're in a slump.
Brandon Eaton, CEO and co-founder of Stinger Sports. He started the company to fight back against baseball, becoming a country club sport, focusing on making high-quality, durable gear to keep kids from getting priced out of the game.
How important is self-talk for their identity?
True failure is when you don't have the success that you're planning on, but you don't take something positive from it. You don't learn from it. You're not growing. That's what real failure is.
You don't get that option to lead by emotions. You have to lead by how do you set a standard.
What Stinger stands against is what we're fighting against. And what that is, the quality of products is going down and the cost is going up.
I get what you stand for. I get what you stand against. Every superhero has a flaw. What's your flaw?
I guess if I could say what my biggest flaw is.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Strike one.
Hey, that's why we get three.
Amen.
Hopefully we only need two
we're
strikes.
good, man. It's going to be good, man. So we're here at the house that Brandon built.
Yeah.
Old school babe in you. Anyways, I'm super proud to come down here. The last time I was here, this place did not look like this. And I'm super happy not just to be here, but to see your vision come to life with what you've done over the last 10 years. Just celebrated 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
So pretty excited about that. But for those that don't know who Brandon Eaton is, who's Brandon Eaton?
Who's Brandon Eaton? So I'm a husband and a father of two wonderful girls, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Stinger Sports.
Nice, yeah. Girl dad, man. How's the transition been to baseball's better than softball to now, wait a second, I'm pouring into, these girls, and, this is kind of cool, and I get to teach them all these lessons that I have learned and been a part of and seen. So how's that been?
Yeah, I'm also coach dad too.
Oh, you are? Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, so have a lot to say about that. Definitely been eye-opening, growing up as a baseball player. There's always that baseball, softball kind of dynamic about, softball's easy. Nope.
Yeah, softballs are not soft either. People didn't realize that, huh?
They are hard.
You take a few hits to those and they wake you up quick.
Yeah, they still leave lace marks. They still leave welts and bruises. But yeah, no, it's been fantastic. Definitely eye-opening for me. Softball is such an amazing game, such an amazing sport. Takes so much dedication and drive, just like baseball, and it's a fantastic game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really cool. Had an opportunity, early in my career to be around Team USA, women's softball team. Really cool. One of the coaches that worked for me for years was kind of like my head guy with our pros in college development systems, a guy named Connor Crowell. His sister, Coach C, is the head coach at Penn State softball, and she's one of the best coaches I've ever been around. I've learned so much from being in that world, in that ecosystem. Softball is awesome, and I tell people it's one of the most competitive youth environments in any sport that you ever can imagine. People don't realize it. And it's a very different sport than baseball. It's technically completely different in a lot of ways. The rules of the game are different, but what's really cool is you're able to kind of take the life's lessons from baseball, life lessons from baseball across to any sport, life lessons from sport to any other area in business. So it's really exciting for me to see you do that. But more exciting in a lot of ways is to see your vision come to life here at Stinger Sports. Mm-hmm. It's 10-year anniversary.
Yep. 10 years in October. So
where did Stinger come from? Where did it start?
Yeah, so it started, obviously, I have a passion for sports. I grew up playing all different types of sports throughout my life. Baseball became my real passion as I continued on with my childhood. And it was a childhood where I was one of four kids. And, we were in a kind of like a lower middle class family. We didn't have a whole ton of money. But we were able to, every one of us, go out there and compete in all these different sports. And there was never a money barrier, to entry and competing in these sports. And I'd realized that throughout time, baseball, softball has really become a very, like a country club sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, what was happening is a lot of kids weren't continuing on with the sport because it became too expensive. It became, they're getting priced out of the game. It wasn't about their talent anymore. It was about how deep their pockets were. And what we wanted to do is create a brand in a company that would help grow the game by keeping kids playing it, right? So once that competition gets higher, we make the best of the best when it comes to performance, durability. You can still get those hand-me-downs, which it seems like are a thing of the past, right? We wanted to bring that back. We want our things to last. And so that's how Stinger was born, was through that mentality. And it's for the last 10 years been really poured into every single thing that we do.
Yeah, I mean, you started as a wood bat company and turned into now best in class, like batting gloves, like, you have Japanese leather, custom gloves, you have, apparel, team sports. You've done so much within the business and the brand to kind of keep what is America's pastime becoming kind of like America's future sport, which is really cool. And I think that's a mission that I share, because I really, for a long time in my life, it was empowering athletes by teaching life lessons through sports. And I think sports lessons could be translated into so many things that you do in life, but it also could be translated in business. And you've ran an incredible business here for 10 years. Coming into this building, I remember when I first came and toured this layout, it was like a dungeon. It was all, it was in construction.
Yeah.
And I think it seems like a lot of our life in business is like in construction, but it takes somebody that has a visionary, to really kind of get it to, and that not just that vision, but also someone that's willing to put the hard work in and get a lot of failures and get a lot of like, take your hits, right? Good or bad.
Yep.
And then just keep showing up. Showing up is a really important value to you, that I've been a part of. I've been able to see you for a number of years. Did that come from sport? Did that come from your parents? I know you grew up in a small town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But where did this like kind of values come from of Brandon? Because I think you bring that into everything that you do. You bring that into the quality craftsmanship. You bring that into the ethical way that you do things. It's a U.S. based company that's supporting people here, in youth sports. Where did the values come from?
Yeah, I mean, the values come from everywhere, right? And it just with everybody else, definitely my parents, my upbringing, my mom and dad, my grandparents, some of the hardest working people you'll ever see in your entire life. Grandfather was a farmer, so, I grew up working on his farm, and, so I learned that work ethic there. I get the entrepreneurial spirit from him as well. He's somebody that would never forget it. He would go out and grab an old junker car and then bring it back and literally just turn this thing into a beautiful thing,
Wow.
Just beautiful. And then the next day it'd be gone.
You'd sell it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just do it over and over and over again, which is crazy to me because, like, as soon as he got to look into where his vision was, it was on to the next. It's on to the next.
Yeah.
So that visionary piece, I think, comes from him. As far as, the showing up and all of that, my parents just nose to the ground, just, grinding and working hard and every single day just to build a good life for their kids, saw that every day and, learned it from them. And when it comes to overcoming failure and all of that, that's sports, teamwork, sports. It was always important in our house to be playing sports. My parents played sports growing up, so they knew the lessons that you learned from it. And we learn those lessons too, and that's life. Any game. I say baseball is life, but it's really any team sport. You learn how to work together towards a common goal. You learn how to overcome adversity. You learn how to compete. Life is competition, right? You learn how to compete, and you learn so much from playing sports. And that's really the whole premise here is we want kids to continue to learn those lessons. Same thing that you're doing, right? You teach kids, and they're learning the lessons of life through play.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
The exploration is also a exploration of oneself. When you compete at a high level, you start to understand, like, what is your identity, your self-worth, your value, and you really start to think about, like, how you show up every day. And sometimes it is attached to the worth on the diamond. It is attached to your worth on the field.
Yeah.
But the language that you use in your head, baseball is a sport that you talk to yourself a lot because 90% of it is failure. Yeah. The best people in the world of sports, in baseball specifically, is a high percentage of failure. And it is, to me, in a lot of ways, boring because it's a slow game sometimes. But what's exciting is the work that you do to get to that stage.
Yeah.
I think that you've hired incredible people here. You've built a great camaraderie, a great locker room. You pull people in from, like, hey, they're in like kind of the dugout of their life, and it's like, hey, get in the box.
Yeah.
Let's play the game, because that's where you learn the lessons, is striking out and seeing what that's like. How important is, especially now having 2 daughters that are, growing up, how important is self-talk for like their identity?
Yeah, self-talk in everything is extremely important, because that's how you're building your own idea of yourself. How are you speaking to yourself? Is it uplifting, or are you beating yourself down? And then that's going to control how you're feeling about whatever situation you're going into, whatever situation you're in. How are you talking to yourself? Would you talk to somebody else that you're trying to uplift in that way? And if the answer is no, it's probably not productive. It's probably not a useful way to talk to yourself. So, telling yourself, yeah, I got this, or having that baseball mentality, I'm stepping into the box. There is nothing this pitcher can throw that I'm not going to crush.
Yeah.
You got to have that mentality in everything you do. That's the confidence. So self-talk is huge. Self-talk is huge for every aspect of life.
Now, do you see that being something that is taken into, other part of their lives? Like, having 2 daughters that are in softball, one of them that's like really trying to, come into their own in the pitcher sense. Like, that's a very, you can get in your own head. Yeah. Right. And it's sometimes you see people, the coaches will be like, well, they're in a batter's box as a baseball player, like you're in a slump, I've spent enough time with you to see how, like, you talk about like you were never in a slump growing up. Now that doesn't mean that you didn't fail.
Yeah.
Right. But you have 2 definitions, I think, is like, one is like the words that you use being like the slump, what coaches use. And the other one is failure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And I think we align really well on that. And I'd like to talk about that, because why is it so important that as a coach you don't use the word like being in a slump?
Yeah. I think it's incredibly important. You say I've never been in a slump. Well, that's if you ask me. If you ask other people, they'd probably say I was in a slump.
Sure.
But I would never admit that I was in a slump, because I always knew that I'd come out of it, right? You have hard times, you have hard days, you have hard games, you have a hard week maybe, but you always know you're that much closer to the best game, and coming out of that. So I think coaches that use the S word, slump, with their own team, you're cementing an idea in their head that's destroying their confidence, because maybe they're under the mindset of, I'm never admitting I'm in a slump. But then your coach says, hey, you're in a slump. And what does that kid think all of a sudden? Oh, I'm in a slump.
Yep.
And then that makes it that much harder to come out of it and get out of that.
So true. And that's an imprint, and it becomes part of their identity, and they take it with them in other areas of their life and how they look and how they feel. I think it's also really cool to think about, like, if you're in a slump and you're not able to get out of it, most people, what destroys a player is the self-talk, but what is the fastest way to create negative self-talk is having somebody that they look up to and somebody that they respect impose their view of them on to them. So like a coach saying like you're in a slump, or that's sometimes tough. I had parents that were very blunt with me, like, hey, if I suck today, they told me, and it was like, hey, the eye in the sky never lied. It was very honest. It was very direct. And it was like, you know what, that allowed me to create, in my opinion, a very good self-awareness around how I was and how I showed up. But it never like positioned me of like who I would be forever, because there was no quit. Like, we weren't allowed to quit. And that also is important today, because in baseball, if you do quit, like, you are as bad as your last bat, you are as good as your last bat. And the real key is you don't fail unless you quit. The true failure is only when you let that define you and you don't give it another shot. You don't believe in failure. And yet you're in a sport, and in business, you got to take your lumps. Like in sport, in baseball specifically, Hall of Famers are what most consider percentage failures. Why do you not believe in failure?
Well, when I was younger, I would say failure's not an option, but that was before I really had a true definition of what failure was.
What is your definition of failure?
So back then it was, I struck out. I didn't have a successful outcome. Then that's a failure. Struck out, didn't get a hit, failure. And so back then it was failure's not an option, but I didn't really know what true failure was. And you touched on it a couple seconds ago. True failure is when you don't have the success that you're planning on, but you don't take something positive from it. You don't learn from it. You're not growing. That's what real failure is. So for me now, failure's still not an option, but I choose if I'm failing or not based on how I react to the negative outcome. Make it a positive thing. I struck out. Okay, what pitch was that? What pitch sequence did I see? What did I do that I can improve on for the next at bat? And you learn and you get better. So now the used to be failures, they're not failures anymore because I'm learning and I'm getting better every single time I fall down.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I look at that in sport. There's like this sport intuition, this EQ, and there's a lot of people that react to things, and that's your nervous system. That's what's ingrained to you, and sometimes that's your emotional response right away. But the real maturity is when you like develop a level of awareness of how you should respond, not necessarily react.
Yeah.
Because the reaction oftentimes is disassociation from like the logic. It's very emotional and it's in the moment. And what you want is your reaction to be very mature. But mature reaction, it comes from being able to reflect back and be like, okay, I need to respond to this situation. And oftentimes you can't. There's the immature athlete that like kind of like they slam the bat down. It's a nice bat, by the way.
Yes.
All right. They slam the bat down, they throw their gloves, and those are the immature moments when the kid takes their hat and they throw it in the dugout. And that at the little league level, they're acting like a little league and learning these little league lessons. And then they start to model behavior off of what they're allowed to do too. So if a kid does that in the dugout, then that's how they're going to respond in another situation. And what you're really trying to do is getting them to kind of like, hey, I know that the emotion feels this way, but this is an immature athlete that does that. A mature athlete knows how to take that in, learn from it, and then I know that I get another shot. Because unless you quit, you're not a failure.
Right.
And I think that you want to learn to fail fast, number one. You want to fail forward, right? And then you want to make sure that that the failure becomes a lesson so that you don't keep trying, you test. And the framing of looking at that is very different. And I would say that the definition that you have today is actually really valuable for an athlete because it allows you to be like, okay, here's how do you make this useful. You know, my son's 8 years old and he's telling me constantly, like, if I'm negative, right, he's listening to my calls and crap like that. I'm coaching people. And he's like, you know, Daddy, it's not really a very useful mentality. And I'm like, all right, enough already. I get it. But it's true because if you're negative doesn't help you. And you have to ask yourself, like, is the mindset that you're going into the batter's box with, or you on the plate, or you about to take a ground ball, like, is it a useful mentality or is it very nervous? Because, you know, in the brain, you know, anxiety and adrenaline show up the same way at the neural level. But in reality, what happens is it's just how do you approach it? Are you able to kind of like control that and move it into flow, or is it controlling you and creating hesitation? Most people quit too soon.
Oh yeah.
Before they kind of get a breakout. But were they going to stay on that track, or were they going to work their way out of it? Swing your way out of it. You know? So baseball has a lot of lessons, and I hope that people take away from it in business. Because oftentimes, normally people don't go out on their own terms in sport. And that's one of my life missions when I work with professional athletes is like, I want you to be able to go out on your own terms. Because you're the 1% of the athlete world that have made it to the highest level. I want you to be able to have your options to choose when you go out and how you go out. And that's very hard to do. And I want to give that to them because that's where I am in my career. What I think you're doing right now is in the youth of America, even though Stinger started at the highest level of quality, you're providing this to every athlete at any age, which is quite incredible. What made you take, you know, this type of quality wood bat to kind of, my favorite product that you have is actually the gloves because they, you know, number one, they look cool, but number two, like they last forever, which is very rare in the baseball market of quality. What made you take this like high quality standards and now bring it down to everybody has a chance to actually use the quality product? Because normally like MLB guys and college guys get the best stuff, and then there's a big drop off. Yep. So you see guys that like at middle school level, like they take the high school bat, the high school level, they take the college bat. Maybe they're not ready for it. Now Stingers basically brought that to everybody, made it accessible. So now talent could be actually used, but the tools and technology is now applied to that talent and becomes very valuable. What made you do that?
Yeah, it's exactly what you touched on about an athlete going out on their own terms, right? So financial terms, right? Being able to compete and afford the highest quality stuff, that was eliminating the games for so many people, to the point to where when the competition got the steepest, they were dropping off.
Oh yeah.
And so that's why we wanted to give that opportunity to these kids that had the talent to progress and could be the big leaguers of tomorrow if they only had the tools available to them.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give those tools to them, and so that way they could go out on their own terms, and maybe that's in the major leagues 20 years after that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, for me, I've been a part of a lot of people's pro careers, and when they start, and you see like how detailed oriented they are, and like what got them there, and how many buckets of balls have they hit, in the middle of the night, and or they wake up early, or like their lunch break at school is literally them taking swings and stuff, and I think that like they learn to like love their gear. And if they don't love their gear, they don't show up a certain way. And
you got to have that confidence.
Yeah, it's Deion Sanders, right? You talk about it all the time, and that's why you got that swag, right? And it's like you look good, you play good. Yeah. This idea, I did not play with a glove that looked like this. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
I didn't play with a glove that looked like that. I didn't play with a glove that looked like this.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Right? Why the cool factor without lowering the quality? Like, what's the thing? I mean, you got that. I always joke around like I can't stand baseball players, right? Like they always are like a 6'4", in shape, good looking, got a full set of hair. They always get the coolest swag. So like baseball players always have like the gear that always looks the part. Their contracts are way bigger than football players, so it's annoying. So you make the most money, you get the coolest gear, you get the prettiest girls. Like this is the stuff that frustrates me about baseball. Why the swag? Like why the cool factor? Do you think that makes a difference?
It does make a difference. Yeah, it's that confidence thing. You got to feel good with how you look, how you're presenting yourself on the field. If you look good, you're feeling good, you're playing good. That's that Deion Sanders, right? Back when we were playing baseball, it wasn't about the flash. It was about, the batting gloves matching your uniform and your glove being, a traditional color.
Yeah, now, Yankees lineup, right? Cut the beard, trim the hair, look the part. We got pinstripes, or we're all the union workers the same.
Yeah, but nowadays they made room for your own flair and your own personality. Now we still have the people that I like a traditional. I like a brown glove and black or white, all white batting gloves. All white batting gloves still one of our top sellers.
I'm the all white. I'm the Michael Jackson on the sideline. I like the all white glove. It's my swag.
Looks good with everything.
I just like it because I'm cold and I'm a wuss, and I don't like the cold, so I can wear them when I'm coaching.
Yeah. So, but so now we made changes with the market. Kids, they want the flash, they want some flair, they want to put their personality on it, so we give them the ability to do that. Still something incredibly high quality, and they can add their own flavor to it, so they're comfortable on the field and they're ready to rock and roll and perform.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool because, number one, it's just whether it be the custom side of things or whether it be just the uniqueness of like, hey, that's mine. It creates a level of ownership where the kid get ready. Like I still to this day, every day is game day in my mentality. So I set out my clothes for the night before so I could show up a certain way. I came down here to take some pictures for the book, and I'm setting out my clothes for the night before to make sure like I look the part. Every day's game day in my mentality, and I gotta have that uniform so I could show up in that kind of that feeling, right? It gives me that feeling and it looks good. I know that, as a player that doesn't have to be like get a hand-me-down bat, nowadays these bats don't even last anymore. Nowadays like it's like a 2 tournament if you're lucky, and then they move on, and here you are with your BB core lineup that's lasting seasons and moving on to other players. I think the quality of the bat is a very important thing, but it's also like that feeling like I know that I feel good mentally knowing that I have mine, like I think that that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And it gives somebody that sense of like ownership, like this is mine. This is kind of my arsenal. Showing up to battle every day. I know what my weapons are to go do my job, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean it's not the Indian, it's the arrow, right? Which I believe. But if you have two Indians that are equal skill level, and one of them is more confident in their arrow, and they have a better arrow, and they're going to hit the target way more often than the other one. So
yeah, yesterday we were hitting a little BP, and I'm like, man, I haven't swung a bat in years, man. My body's gonna hurt, and I'm like, I got the baby marks to prove it, little wuss hands. But I thought it was pretty funny because you're gonna see how that ball comes off the bat. I grabbed it, I'm like, oh my god, that's almost dangerous how crazy a good bat is nowadays to what we are used to playing with, and the confidence it would give you, like when you hit that sweet spot and that thing comes out of the park. Look, my body ain't ready to do that anymore. And I'm sure it doesn't look the way it did, when I was playing. I'd like to think not.
I think it looked great.
Optimism, that's for sure. That's the baseball in you. Like good mood. Like we got to get you into coach mode. Like that looked rough. What's the feel? It probably is going to hurt me more because it felt so good to hit that ball and swing. What's the feeling that you get when you smash a ball? Like when you go yard, what does it feel like?
Oh, it's the best feeling in sports, and it is. It's the best feeling in sports, and I'm a little bit biased, but I played basically every sport growing up, right? Scored touchdowns, scored goals, made baskets, game-winning baskets, game-winning goals. The best feeling in sports is squaring up a baseball and just knowing that's gone immediately, and just watching that thing fly through the air and running around the bases.
And you when you own that, it's a good feeling, right?
It's the best feeling.
Yeah, you probably had a lot more of those moments than I did. Just watching you yesterday swing it lightly, I was like, ooh, that's a little different when it comes off the barrel.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a great sport. It's a great game. It's a great feeling. And I want more people to be able to experience that.
What has that helped you with your confidence as you've shown up as a leader, knowing that, like, hey, when it's 3-2, bases are loaded, 2 outs, if you're in the batter's box, like, you're going to be the one that puts the team in the best position to win?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the thing, is you want to have that mentality as an athlete, as a leader, is when the game's on the line, if you had your choice of anybody to be up, you should always be wanting that to be you. You should want that to be you. And, learning that from sports, learning the leadership aspects from sports is huge. How are you showing up? You talked about kids who they don't understand the leadership aspect yet, and they come in and they're throwing stuff and they're slamming their gloves, or they strike out and they come back in, and maybe they're the best hitter on the team, and they come back in and they tell their teammates, "Ooh, that was dirty. Oh my gosh, that was dirty." What's that? How is that showing up for the rest of the team? They're seeing that player who they view as, oh, this is the best hitter on the team. Yeah. If he's coming and he's like, that's dirty, I'm screwed, right? You got to understand that. How are you showing up for your teammates? How are you showing up for other people? Every single thing, slamming your helmet, slamming your gloves, slamming your bat, that's not showing up. That's not showing up in a leadership way. You want to be productive. You want to be useful. So knowing that from sports, taking that into business, how are you showing up in business and meetings? Are you showing up frustrated with everything that happened before that? Are you showing up looking defeated? Are you just coming in, storming to your office, sitting down and just not saying hello to anyone? That's not a way to be a leader. That's not a way to be a leader. And I learned that from sports. You show up, you greet everybody. You had a rough at bat. You're not taking that to the field. You're not taking that rough at bat to the field. You got a job to do out there too. Just like you have a rough morning, but you have a meeting with the team in the conference room. You got to show up there as if that rough morning didn't happen. Of
course, you don't get that choice.
No.
That's that, as a leader, you don't get that option to lead by emotions. You have to lead by how do you set a standard? And the standard is not where you set it, it's where you clear the bar. And if you knock over that bar, then it's actually the standard's lower than that. So you have to lead by the standard, not by your feelings. And this is something that's very lost. It's also interesting in pro sports. MLB has like the one true development system in the Power 5 sports, but all of the big sports, there's big jumps, right? Whereas baseball actually has a farm system and a development system, set up for them. And you'll get a lot of times you get guys that come down. And Brandon Mann is a player that has worked its way in the system. He played in the bigs. I think he's a pitching coach. He was a coach with the Marlins at one point. He was with the Dodgers. Played in Japan for many years as well. Just an amazing human being too. Like just an incredible human being. And he'd tell me stories of guys that he had been in the locker room with that were in the bigs and then came down, like the Vlad Guerreros of the world. And you see these people that come around, Martinez's, and they come down because they got a little bug of an injury or they're working through something right now. And they're like, wow, like now I see the difference. Like they don't come down big time. They come down as like they're the hardest worker in that group. And then you're like, oh, that's why they're at that level.
Yeah.
Because environment always wins. And when you put somebody in an environment, they always tend to like say, okay, we're going to reset this bell curve. Where are you now on this bell curve? And when you get a guy that comes down to a different level and they like sets a new standard, these guys go, oh, that's a reality check, and they know how to act. You look at Shohei Ohtani right now, like he just cracks a ball and he comes back in the dugout. Yeah, he daps everybody up. People are pumped because it puts the team in a position to lead. But he's filling up, Gatorade and water for everybody and setting it up for everybody. And like that's the good teammate. Yesterday, we're walking 2-3 steps a degree off our conversation so you could pick up a lid of a big gulp and throw it away. I was always taught that, like, you don't walk over something. You pick it up, you throw it away, and that's like sets the tone. And I remember, I'd send kids in the college recruiting trips and I'd say, hey, you need to figure out a way to stand out. And the way that you stand out is the way that you act when no one's watching, because someone's always watching.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't have attention on you, but you do have eyeballs on you. And a way to get attention, it's going to be good or bad. It's going to be your swag, it's going to be the demeanor, but it's also going to be the thing that you do that sets your character apart from everybody else. And there's a lot of lessons in baseball that represent your character because of the failure rate. Why do you take that, 1 degree off, 3 steps over to go pick up something? Because it's, you come into a building that you want to feel good about.
Yeah, exactly that. It's setting that tone. It's how you show up. Were any of my employees watching me do that? I don't know. I don't care. But I know that that's part of my DNA is if I see something that needs to be a problem. To me, I saw that as a very minor problem that needed to be solved. There was a lid that was, on the ground that shouldn't have been there.
Sure.
And taking that 1 second or however long it was to solve that problem, if everybody's doing that in a team atmosphere, the team is going to progress and it's going to be a better team. If everybody's taking that extra step, that going that extra mile, the team's going to be better and you're going to get further. And that goes for everything from sports to business to every single aspect of life.
Yeah, I mean, you've created here at Stinger a team environment. Yeah, it's like a family and like a locker room and like a dugout, and you hang out and you have a good time, but it's a lot of fun. With the boys yesterday and some of the guys there, and some of the ladies are just like, they have great personalities. And what's really cool about it is it feels like a family, but there's the accountability and there's the trust of a teammate. And it's like, hey, everyone has their role, and yeah, you may strike out a few times, but you have another shot to show up the next day and to reset to show up the next day. There's a high level of accountability because, we want everyone to get better. There's also this idea of like, if that person does better, then we all get to benefit. If this person does better, then I get to show up and kind of hit, I could get to get an RBI because you got on base.
Yep.
It's not a one-man show competition internally every day. It's a competition so they could better oneself so that the group gets better. I really love what you've done. I kind of miss I don't have my like sports performance facility anymore. Our executive office is in the Google building, so I don't have as much trash on the floor normally. But it is nice, and it's a fun way to be like, man, like you're building your playground, right? You're building the place that you wish you had. I think that's what's really cool is as we get older, like we could pass down these lessons, not just of sport, but of leadership to a younger generation, and then they could really absorb it. Every part of what you've done here is attention to detail, like the sewing of the gloves and these things lasting. What's been your favorite thing about like the equipment part of it?
Yeah.
That has really shaped, like, because you like to kind of go like head down in engineer mode sometimes and like build things. What's been your favorite part of like problem solving, figuring that out, because that's very different. It's easy to physically do stuff. Sometimes this is not a grinding of a game. This is more of a creative side.
Yeah, I love seeing a product and envisioning how can I make this better with the whole mental side of me using it. So I'm envisioning myself using this product and how can I make this perform better? How can I make this last longer? Absolutely love that. And I love the entire process. And I also love the act of testing it out and trying to break it, right? Did I actually improve it? If I didn't, I want to know. I'm trying to break it. I'm trying to test it to every single limit possible. That type of thing I just love.
Yeah, I mean, like some of these bats, like if you gave it to, like if you grabbed a crap bat, you swing on it, you put Jason Worth in there, you put somebody that's got some power to it, they crack the bat in half and they go one swing.
Yeah.
These things, I mean, your BB Core bats, the next level of bats that you have, I mean, they have some sustainability to it. How much rigor testing do you go through?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. Like I said, I mean, and that's why a lot, because it's fun. It's fun. And if there's something wrong, if it's not improved, if it's not durable, I want to know. So we put these things through the ringer. And listen, I just told you that the best feeling in sports is squaring up a ball. So testing out a baseball bat, there's a lot less fun things in the world to test.
That's true.
So,
you got the hit tracks there. You got the TV.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, let's take it to town. Yeah. I didn't have too many balls that went out of Yankees Park yesterday, but maybe today give it another shot.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
I think you know what? I tell people, like, it's a lot easier to keep an old hinge greased than let one get rusty. I had some, like, you may need it wasn't clay indoors. That was some rust that was falling off my joints when I was swinging. That hurt. So I didn't feel as bad as I thought I would. But
I say you're moving around pretty good today.
I thought I would be grumpy old man with a cane as a bat instead of me chilling. But the hardest part I will say is I enjoy doing that, which means I'm going to break myself because I'm going to go until like, oh man, like I had so much fun, which means I'm going to hurt.
Yeah.
But what's really frustrating is there was a time in my life, man, like that was a fun thing. And like, I enjoy it. And you realize how much you miss something. And I think that to stay involved, it's like how you build the community and do this. Like, is that like a sweet spot for you mentally?
Oh yeah.
Cause like, there's not much going on in your head. I believe sports are, there's a lot of education and life lessons. There's a lot of entertainment and fun to it, but there's a true level of escapism. No matter what's happening in your family life, academic life, stress, there's a level of like flow state when you're in a batter's box, or even just like waiting for a grounder to come to you, or catching a fly ball or running something out, that there's nothing on your mind other than that. Is that a safe space for you sometimes?
Oh, for sure. It's like therapy. It's definitely an outlet, and everybody needs their outlets. For some people it's sports, for some people it's other things. It could be, knitting, or it could be reading, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. People need that because you need to recenter, you need that escape. And to me, it feeds my soul to go out and hit baseballs and compete and be on a team and all that stuff. It's definitely needed in my life, and everybody needs that.
You have a wide range of people that work for you, whether they're like young, right out of college, former baseball players, or, some of the ladies involved are like incredible personalities to the culture, whether they used to be the ones that were keeping score for their kids, or the ones that, really want to see the next generation be treated the right way and teach true leadership through sports while they get great products and support their teams. Like, they know the stress of a parent ordering uniforms for a club team because they have their other job too. They're not like, this is not their full-time gig, and Stinger provides that. Do you think there's a sense of purpose for everybody at every level, from whether it be like sales or marketing or customer service or fulfillment? You guys are doing like delivery and shipping. Like, how you do one thing is how you do everything is a concept that a lot of people have. I don't necessarily operate like that because there's areas in my life that I'm not necessarily as organized or as professional, but there's a purpose of how I do things. It's intentional, and the craftsmanship and the work that you're trying to do to produce an incredible product that it's accessible to all. you have that mentality in the team of like, even like how things are packaged and how things are set up. Like, how do you get the delivery guy to understand like, hey, the attention to detail, if it's missed in packaging, they're going to think it's missed in engineering.
Mm-hmm.
If the customer service isn't treated a certain way, they're going to think that like that's how we treat you. How do you give them that sense of purpose so that they show up with intention for their work? Because that's a leadership role that I think that I've watched you do, and I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that team atmosphere. And we hire people that are passionate about what we do. And that passion is so important. I started this out of passion. I want to bring on additional people to the team that are passionate about that. And it can be from competing on past teams through sports or things like that. But just knowing that their performance, how they show up, how they do their job is going to help this person and vice versa. So it helps the collective. It helps everybody. And when you know that how I'm doing my job can help them, and they know how they're doing their job can help you, and everybody, a high tide raises all ships.
Absolutely.
Having that mentality and just really driving that home I think that's how you get the best out of everyone.
Now, do you have like internal leaderboards? Do you have do you run it like a sports team?
Yeah.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I love that. Like, I truly believe that, like for me, it's like, like offense is, sales, like customer service, if there's negative things, or like quality control, maybe defense and fulfillment. But like special teams for me is marketing. It's like, hey, what's the cool thing we could talk about, and you guys do a lot of stuff online that's like funny and it's got great personality. You also tell some great stories. How do you run your business like a team? How do you run your business like a sporting environment?
Yeah. So there's kind of different schools of thoughts when it comes to stats. I've been around coaches that didn't want their players to know stats.
Interesting.
I've been around coaches that did want their players to know stats. I am a stat guy. I think everybody should know them.
Yeah. I think if you don't know your numbers, then you won't have really good awareness. And if you don't have awareness, you won't have to be an elite athlete, you have to know thyself. To be an elite athlete, you have to understand the room. And to be an elite athlete, you have to have social dynamics so that you know your role in that situation. So that you can stay involved, because you don't get to play forever, and you're not going to be the best all the time forever. You may be the best, and then when you get you're a big fish in a small pond, and then you go into a big lake, or you go into an ocean, you're no longer that shark anymore. So you got to know how to change based upon the environment, so you know your role.
Yep.
And if you don't have your stats dialed in, then you don't have good awareness.
Yeah, exactly. If something isn't measured, it can't be improved.
Absolutely.
And you got to know your measurements, and that's what stats are. So on a team, we'll take it back to baseball. You know the stats. You know everybody's stats. You know yours. You know everybody else's. And I think that's a really important piece, because when push comes to shove, you know your role on that team. And you know what you need to improve on. If there's a scenario that comes up, and you have the guy with the highest on-base percentage, or the guy with the highest batting average with runners in scoring position, he's hitting behind you, and there's a runner on first base, and you get the assignment to bunt him over, you understand, okay, I know I'm the bunt him over guy right now, because I got the RBI guy behind me. It also helps knowing other people's stats too, because it gives you something to chase. It gives you something to run after. And so here I bring that in with our sales. We have sales meetings every single week, and every single person has to come with their number, and we put it on the board for everybody to see. And the rankings change based on who's at the top, who's at the bottom, and everybody sees it. So if you're at the bottom, you see, okay, that's I want to chase that. But it's also a team atmosphere here, and everything we do is a team. So the way that even our pay structure is set up is that everybody on the list is benefiting from the success of somebody else on the list.
Yeah, I mean, if I score some runs, the team wins.
Right.
That's the bottom line. If I have to sack fly this right now, but we scored a run in because of the position that athlete is in now on third, I was a part of that.
But that has to be reflected in the pay structure too, and that's what we do. It's reflected in the pay structure. So if you're on my team and you do well, I'm genuinely pumped about that, because I'm going to get paid more based on you doing well, and you're going to get paid more based on me doing well. And so that's where you get that team atmosphere, is it has to be reflective in every single thing you do. You can't say we're a team and then you do something well and I don't benefit from it. That's not a team.
Yeah.
On a team, you benefit from the success of your teammates.
That's cool. And I think what's really cool too is like when you do that, it empowers them to do their best, but also realize that it's not about someone else losing for them to win. It's them winning and then everyone winning. Like together, everyone achieves more, and is like the definition of team. So I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a saying that we use all the time, is rising tide lifts all ships. And we really want to create an environment like that because there's a bigger pot. And I would want to have, my hand in that because it's bigger. There's more options. There's a story where, in Africa, how they catch monkeys is they stick peanut butter in the peanuts at the bottom of a clay pot, and it's a thin tube like this, and the monkeys stick their hand in and they grab the peanuts, and it's the clay pot is attached to a chain, but the monkey is so selfish that they won't let go, and it locks themselves in. And it's like sometimes you have to let go to get yourself because you're being so selfish. Or what you need to realize is that, wait a second here, like, if I had just a bigger pot, right? Now more people could get involved. But because I'm going after the one thing and it's all about me, I'm the one who's going to get caught. So it's not about someone losing. Like, I actually want my friends to win. I don't care about competition. If I'm competing with you, I'm going to win. Like, I'm going to destroy you. But most people think they're my competition, and they have no idea because I'm not even thinking about them, because we're not even in the same league. So come chase after me, because if you want to come in second, follow me. There's a sign behind me. I'll give you the directions. But guess what? I'm so far ahead of you that I'm not worried about you. And I think that, looking back in life really will mess with you, right? And you're so distracted on that, you're going to run into those things, and you should be focused on where you're trying to go. And it's like, you got to be where your feet are, right? It's really hard, to have your head about something else while you're in the batter's box. I mean, the talent and skill that it takes to take this and hit, 88 that's got movement, or 93 coming down the pipe. Like, it's hard. I had, I was in the box and someone, threw a cutter on me, and I'm like, what the heck was that? And it's like, 92 cutting, man, there's levels to this game. I mean, I was a pretty good ball player, and then you get to a certain point and you're like, oh,
yeah,
there's a different level.
Yeah.
If you throw something, if you could throw something straight, like, I don't care the speed, I'm going to crack it. But when you got some movement, or you got like a lefty sub coming at you, I don't care what that is. It's one of the hardest things to do in sport as far as the skill is hitting a baseball. And if you show up every day, whether you're failing, as long as you don't quit, you're not a failure.
Yeah.
And if you show up every day and you take the lessons from that batter's box to the boardroom, you can make a lot out of things. And I think these are the lessons that you're teaching the next generation. So I'm excited. What are you so excited about the future of Stinger? Like, what's the thing that gets you jazzed up every day? Because, not every season has this momentum of success. You can't win a pennant every year. But what's your World Series run right now for Stinger?
Real quick. I just want to make sure nothing's dead. All right.
Good on all fronts?
Yeah.
Strike two. That's just good. What's your World Series run for Stinger?
Yeah. So the plan from the very get-go is to help to keep more kids playing sports. And I say baseball, right? Because baseball is really, that's been the sport that we really have driven home, because it's my main passion. But I love all sports, and I think that there's so many lessons to be learned from every single sport.
And you started as a soccer player, right?
Yeah, I did.
Skill soccer.
Yeah, you never believe that.
Not a 6'4", guy that has rotational power and torque that could crush a ball.
Yeah.
Don't think of you much as a soccer guy.
Soccer's a fun sport, though.
That's great. That was your love growing up?
It was. Initially, it was my love, yeah. But I really love winning, and we didn't have a really great youth we actually didn't have a youth program at all in my town, so I went to the next town over. And
it's because you would pass the ball to, like, cows where you grew up. You're in the middle of frickin' nowhere.
That's true. That is true. It's funny, though, because, growing up, the cows probably had as much knowledge about the soccer as who I ended up playing with, who just started after I'd been playing for 4 years. So we got our teeth kicked in. We weren't very good. And
you don't like losing, do you?
I do not like losing. And that's where
you're getting hot right now just thinking about it. I can see it. That's the fire.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
You know, I got to get over that. But
no, you don't.
Yeah. No, I mean like, those losses.
Oh God.
Yeah, those losses.
I will say this: like, I don't want you to learn to lose.
Yeah, no.
I think there's a lot of people that feel as if there's value in losing.
No.
Like, it's a lesson in there.
Yeah.
But do not get used to it.
Oh, no.
And there's something to be said about people that have accepted loss as their identity. I will hire people that come from championship programs because they know how to win.
Yes.
Even if they're a part of it. Maybe they weren't the stud on the team. Maybe they weren't the quarterback. Maybe they weren't their, the relief, pitcher. Maybe they weren't the guy that came in and just could crush a ball. They're not sitting, third or fourth and, on the lineup, at first base, just a monster. But they were a part of that winning team. I want them on my team because winners, they just understand what it takes to have a standard of excellence and they show up better. They're less defined by like their individual numbers and they understand that their individual performance dictates the team's numbers. And that's something that's really valuable. So I don't like people that have accepted losing.
Yeah, winning culture is a real thing.
It absolutely is.
And it's contagious. Winning is contagious. They say in baseball, hitting is contagious. You know how you get up there and right from the get-go, leadoff batter gets a hit. Number 2 hole gets a hit. 3 hole gets a hit. Does that mean that, they're performing any better at that point in time than they did in the past? No, it's contagious because they're winning and
losing.
It's that energy. Exactly. Losing I think losing is more contagious.
Because the most powerful thing in sports to stop is momentum. And you get momentum in a winning trajectory and you have winning and losing momentum going down.
Yep.
And if you start drifting off of that path that you want to go on, which is winning and that right mindset, then what happens is it's so big, it's so stop, and then the world's against you. And you're like, oh my God. And then what happens is you immediately see this a lot in losing environments and losing teams and losing businesses. They become victims.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the keys to successful people is ownership. They take accountability for their work and the outcomes. And most people that lose become victims because they disassociate themselves from the end result and say it was someone else, and that becomes an excuse.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to win.
As soon as you're a victim, you take all your power away because it's external. It's not internal. It's something else. Something else is the reason why I'm losing. Something else. When you have that mentality, you have no power. If you take ownership of it, it's me. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. That's your power. That's where your power lies.
And I think the cool part about that is when you recognize that and you realize that you own it and it's on you, you could focus on the right thing. Because you can't focus on anything else when you're trying to hit a ball. If you're in the batter's box, when that ball's coming at you at 90. If you are, you're going to miss. Mm-hmm. It's hard enough to hit the ball when you have everything tunneled in and you're ready to go, let alone if you're distracted by anything. So is it that other thought? Is it the fact that your brain's working so much that's causing you to think about other things? Is there over level, is it anxiety? Or is it like adrenaline and channeling my energy coming down the line? Because the best in the world, once you make contact with the ball, at point of contact, almost everybody's the same.
Mm-hmm.
But to get there, you got your flair. Maybe you're you're Sheffield, right? Maybe you're Baggio, maybe you're McGuire. Who knows what you are? Maybe you could be up and tall and you could look like a logo, like you're Ken Griffey. But at point of contact,
it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
And what you see this in every part of life too is at point of contact, it's the accountability and ownership of successful people that are all the same. How they get there, their personality, introvert, extrovert, they're they're this way, they're charismatic. This person is just a numbers person. That's great. But when it comes down to, making contact with a sale or making contact with a human, making contact with the work or making contact with the details, it's the person that has attention to detail and ownership and perseverance because things are going to go wrong that learn to win. And I think that's what's really exciting about what life lessons could be taught from little league baseball.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting. So I love what you're doing and I'm super proud to be just associated with someone that's making a difference in the world of the youth through sports, because they started at the highest level. Like my career started at a high level and I worked its way down. Not everybody gets to work their way up. And I think this is something that you're able to give people, the power to do. I always like to look at what do businesses stand for? Because, I have a team around me in the work that I do at the executive level or at the pro athlete level. We have like a team of Avengers that work with us, and whether it be a doctor that's working at their blood work or somebody that's like the top neuroscience or the top person, the specialist that I could kind of bring around to help people. I always call it like my team of Avengers, and I always want to know what does Brandon, what is Stinger Sports, what do you stand for? A superhero stands for something. What do you stand for?
Yeah, I think the biggest word, if you can boil everything that we stand for down to one word, it's value. Right up on our office, we have a big sign that says, give them value. And value as a word has a lot of different meanings. It could mean your values as a person. What do you value? What do you stand for as a person? From a value standpoint with goods, giving people the most that you can from service, the best service you can, the best product you can. Give them more bang for their buck. And so what we stand for is value. We want to show value. We want to give value. We want to be valuable. We want to be valued, and we value our customers.
Nice. Every superhero has something they stand against. Right?
Yeah.
So like Batman's injustice.
Yeah.
Iron Man is like weapons in the hands of the wrong people.
Yeah.
What does Stinger stand against?
This is a tough one. It's not a tough one. I know exactly what we stand against.
Oh, it's a tough one for everyone else here?
It's a tough one to talk about because you might be opening up Pandora's box here.
Well, that's what drives people.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that I'm like, I'm on a mission, to win.
Yep.
And I'm on a mission to win the right way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to win with people that are willing to cut corners or cross the integrity line. So if I know that it's not winning at all costs, it's winning the right way, I have to stand against something.
Yeah. So what Stinger stands against is what we're fighting against. And what that is the quality of products is going down and the cost is going up.
But isn't that true everywhere in the world? That's what everyone says.
Yeah, unfortunately, in a lot of different areas it is. When people say they don't make things like they used to.
We were talking about that with my wife with furniture.
Yeah.
Because they're literally like pulling something, the leg breaks out, just brand new.
Yeah.
But yet we have a furniture cabinet from literally the 80s, and it's strong as steel. It's crazy.
Yeah. Why don't they make things like they used to? Because there's more money to be had in replacing things over and over and over again.
Absolutely. And when you cut corners, you are able to increase margins.
Yeah. And that's what we stand against, because I believe that there is a space in the market, and I believe that showing people value and showing people that we don't want to make things that are going to break intentionally. We want to make things that are that you can stand behind, that you can have confidence in. We want to make those products. We want to make them better than they used to. Not they don't make them like they used to. We want it to be better. We want it to be better. We want it to perform better. We want it to last longer.
Yeah, I mean, and you go through the detail of you got to get the quality of the lumber, you got to get the quality of the, where it's milled, you got to have the design engineering, dialed in from every part of the material, the Japanese leather of the gloves, like every single thing that you do, you are looking for the performance edge more so than you're looking for the business's performance margin. And I think that makes sense. So I think that's really exciting to be a part of that mission, especially since you're trying to take America's pastime, being baseball, and being into leading into America's future, because it's global. When you make the world revolves around American sports. So whether you like it or not, this is the reality, and everyone's going to be second or following behind what we do. And I know that, football, international soccer, a lot of these other sports, F1 and series, those are really great at that level for people to be involved in. But people are going to follow American trends. They're always, even if they've never been here, they're looking to be like us, even though they don't know what that is. And if you could set that precedent and be the leader in it, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So I get what you stand for. I get what you stand against. Every superhero has a flaw.
Yeah.
For Batman, it's work-life balance. What's your flaw?
I mean, I have more than one flaw, but I guess if I could say what my biggest flaw is I'm a doer. And I don't think that's necessarily a 100% flaw, but when you're a doer to the point to where you don't allow others to help you to do things sometimes, that can be a flaw. And so I think my biggest flaw is, I tell you this, I have helpnesia. I forget to ask for help, right? And I think that's probably my biggest flaw.
Well, what's cool about that is I think you understand how to identify that. You know how to fix that. I think what's also why you run into that often is because your attention to detail, your passion, you want it done the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't give it to somebody else to do it the right way, you're not going to accept, second tier quality. Now, my recommendation is to look at that from a leadership standpoint and say, how am I creating an environment that I am not letting people grow because my inability to delegate?
Mm-hmm.
My inability to grow is going to be based upon my lack of ability to delegate, but my inability to hold somebody back, right, is going to be a problem too. Like I'm holding somebody back in their growth. So that might be the challenge. But I think Stinger's got a mission. Brandon Eaton's got a mission. You got an incredible family. And I'm excited about the future, man. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me
All
too.
right? Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm looking
Appreciate
for
you.
what's going to happen in the future.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.